A city of marble, a city of light, Rome. Its arches still stand, its aqueducts still stand, monuments to an astonishing power. But beneath the veneer of civilization, another force was at work, a darker heart. It pulsed with a relentless, brutal rhythm, a heart that beat with blood. It fed on fear, it gorged on human lives. This was not a flaw in the system, it was the system, an engine of spectacle and subjugation on an unprecedented scale. Think of a place, a vast public space, where the roar of a crowd could demand a man's death. Think of a ruler, a man who declared himself a living god. His whim became law. Think of games where men and beasts were pitted against each other, a fight to the last breath. This is the world of ancient Rome. It looks grand in our history books, but in reality it was terrifyingly cruel. We see the beauty of the ruins, but we must also listen for the echoes of the screams. Let us begin with a single brutal image. A man stands on the sand, slick with sweat and grime. He is not a criminal, he is a slave, forced to fight for the entertainment of others. He fights for a meager meal. He fights for the simple chance to draw another breath. The crowd above him roars with approval. A trumpet sounds. The fight is over. One man falls, another lives. For now. This was not an aberration. This was a normal Tuesday. This was public theater. Power in Rome was volatile and shifting. A celebrated general could be hailed one day and declared an enemy of the state the next. An emperor might start with promises of justice and end in paranoia and brutality. Some rulers were remembered as mad. Their caprice and cruelty sent ripples of suffering across the empire. History paints portraits of men unbound by reason, actions that feel like the stuff of nightmares. Of all the names that echo from this dark past, Caligula's is among the most notorious. He ascended to power as a young and popular prince, the hope of Rome. But that hope soon curdled into terror. The man who was once beloved transformed into a monster of epic proportions. He began to demand worship, styling himself as a living god. He subjected the city to bizarre and humiliating spectacles. He delighted in the suffering of his closest allies. He squandered the empire's vast treasury on absurd follies. He laughed at the sight of human pain. The tales of his madness are legion. It is said that he ordered a great bridge of boats to be built, stretching across the Bay of Naples. He rode his favorite horse, Incitatus, across it, clad in the armor of Alexander the Great. He declared victory over the sea god, Neptune. He openly insulted and threatened the most powerful senators, forcing them to run for miles alongside his chariot. He was a man who saw no boundary between his imagination and the reality he could impose upon others. Law, tradition, basic human decency. His cruelty was not just theatrical, it was deeply personal and savage. He was known to order executions on a whim, often for the most trivial of offenses. At the games, if there were not enough condemned, he would seize people from the crowd. Let them hate me, so long as they fear me. This was not governance, this was a reign of terror, orchestrated by one man's broken mind. These stories reveal a profound truth: an empire of millions could become the plaything of a single, unstable individual. The pattern of madness did not end with Caligula. The Emperor Nero, another name synonymous with tyranny, refined spectacle into a dark art. He saw himself not as a statesman, but as a supreme artist, with the entire empire as his stage. He competed in musical contests, he raced in chariots, and he always claimed victory. He used performances to win the people, while his enemies were erased in the shadows. Nero's most infamous act ties to the Great Fire of Rome, 64 AD. Flames devoured swathes of the city. Tacitus reports Nero on his private stage, singing of Troy, a perverse parallel to Rome's destruction. The fiddling tale may be later myth, but it captures his detachment from suffering. To deflect blame, he needed a scapegoat. He found the Christians. He turned their punishment into public spectacle. Some were dressed in animal skins, others torn by dogs in the arena, others were crucified, some were smeared with pitch, tied to poles in his gardens, and set ablaze. They became human torches, lighting his nighttime parties. This was not justice. Like Caligula, Nero's paranoia ate inward. Mother Agrippina, wife Octavia, tutor Seneca. None were safe. At the very heart of Rome's hunger for spectacle sits one building, the Flavian Amphitheatre. We know it as the Colosseum. It is an icon of architectural genius, a marvel of engineering that could seat over 50,000 spectators. But it was not built for plays or concerts. It was a temple dedicated to violent death. Its purpose was to contain and display slaughter on an industrial scale. Within this great stone bowl, the very earth was consecrated with blood, season after season for centuries. The cheers of the crowd were the liturgy, the dying were the sacrifice. Imagine standing inside on a games day. The air is thick with the scent of sweat, wine, and something metallic, the smell of blood. 10,000 voices merge into a single deafening roar. Shafts of sunlight pierce the dust kicked up from the arena floor, illuminating the scene like a spotlight. The great gates swing open, and the performers enter. Some clad in polished armor, professional fighters trained for this moment. Others are gaunt and chained, prisoners of war with no hope of survival. A trumpet blast cuts through the noise. The killing begins. The Colosseum was designed with brutal efficiency, a complex network of tunnels and chambers, the hypogum, beneath the arena floor. Here, gladiators, prisoners, and wild animals were held in waiting. A system of elevators and trapdoors hoisted them up, appearing as if from nowhere. A hunter might suddenly face a lion exploding from the ground. The engineering that built Rome's aqueducts was the same engineering that perfected its killing floor. The sheer scale of the slaughter is difficult to comprehend. For the inauguration in 80 AD, Titus held games for 100 days. During this period, it is said over 9,000 wild animals were killed. Trajan, celebrating victory, held games involving 11,000 animals and 10,000 gladiators. This was more than entertainment. It was a demonstration of reach and power, capturing beasts from the edges of the world and bringing them to die for a crowd's amusement. Who were these men who fought and died upon the sand? The gladiators. They were a mix of slaves, condemned criminals, prisoners of war, and even free men driven by debt or a desire for glory, considered in fame's socially dead, yet paradoxically superstars. Pop idols of their day in graffiti and mosaics. Children played with gladiator figurines. Their lives were brutal and short. In Ludi they trained under harsh discipline, fed to build muscle and fat for shallow cuts. Specialized styles with distinctive armor and weapons. A retiarius with net and trident against a heavily armed secutor. Pairings crafted for drama. A deadly ballet. A brave loser could appeal for mercy. The editor, often the emperor, bowed to the will of the crowd. A roar of approval and a thumbs up. A polis verso could grant a reprieve, but a bloodthirsty crowd and a downward thumb meant death. The victor was required to deliver the killing blow. There was no escape from the rules of the game, and yet some survived. A freed man received the wooden sword, the rudis, and some became trainers, but these were rare exceptions. For most, the arena was a delayed death sentence, disposable heroes in a larger game of power and control. Their fame could not save them from the fundamental reality. They were property, destined to die for the pleasure of others. Beyond stylized combat, the arena hosted forms of execution, even more grotesque. Public death was a cornerstone of Roman justice and social control. Punishment was performance art, horror as message. Damnatio ad bestias. During the midday lull, unarmed convicts were hunted by starved animals, lions, bears, leopards, wild boars. No fight, no contest, pure slaughter. A low-brow, grisly interlude before the main events. Crucifixion, reserved for slaves, rebels, the lowest criminals, slow, agonizing, and public. Crosses lined the roads into cities. The unseen engine, the brutality of slavery. Rome's spectacles and wonders were built on an invisible foundation. That foundation was slavery. Millions were instrumentum vocale, tools with voices. The economy and daily life depended on them. They toiled in mines, rowed galleys, tilled fields, built monuments, suffering as the empire's fuel. Enslaved by conquest, sold in markets, born into bondage, or seized by pirates. Once enslaved, they had almost no legal rights. They could be bought, sold, beaten, branded, tortured, and killed with near impunity. Their bodies were not their own, their lives bent to another's whim. Some educated Greeks became tutors, doctors, administrators, influential within households, but for the majority, life was a nightmare. In Spain's silver mines and Egypt's quarries, life expectancy was measured in months, a slow, grinding execution, no less deadly than the arena. Revolt haunted Rome. A law decreed, if a slave killed the owner, every slave under that roof could be executed. Collective punishment turned households into prisons, a system built on terror. The politics of poison and steel. Brutality permeated the highest levels of power. The path to the throne was conspiracy, assassination, civil war. A relentless story of betrayal, poison as tool, the dagger ever ready. Power cut friend and foe alike. Not even the emperor was safe. Without a clear succession, each imperial death opened a vacuum, filled by violence. The Praetorians became kingmakers and king-slayers. They assassinated Caligula. They murdered Pertinax. They auctioned the throne to the highest bidder. Their barracks rivaled the Senate. In 69 AD, the year of the four emperors, legions marched on Rome to seize power. The empire descended into civil war. Armies meant for frontiers slaughtered fellow Romans. Authority lay not in law, but in military might. The man with the most loyal swords ruled. Tiberius and Domitian ruled through spies and informers. Accusations of treason enriched the state. Trials were a sham. Confessions wrung under torture. An invitation could be honor or death. A careless word, a slight or simple popularity could get you killed. The price of rebellion. The fate of Spartacus. Even in a world of absolute control, people resisted. The greatest slave revolt was led by a Thracian gladiator, Spartacus. He escaped from Capua in 73 BC with around 70 fighters, a spark that became a wildfire. His ranks swelled to over 100,000 men, women and children, a mobile nation of the dispossessed, fighting for the most basic human right, freedom. For 2 years they defied Rome. Spartacus proved a brilliant tactician, defeating multiple armies. They marched the peninsula, plundering estates and liberating slaves. Rome finally acted. The Senate gave extraordinary command to Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome. He cornered the rebels in the toe of Italy. After a final, desperate battle, the slave army shattered. Spartacus died on the field. His body was never found among the slain. Crassus crucified 6,000 survivors along the Appian Way, over 100 miles of slow death witnessed by all who passed. Rome's ultimate answer to the dream of freedom, a warning written in agony, echoes in the ruins. Today we walk among ruins. The Forum is silent. The Palatine is empty of its emperors. Tourists gather in the Colosseum, their cameras clicking. They pose where gladiators once bled. It is easy to see only beauty, but look closer. The stones are quiet, washed by 2,000 years of rain, yet they do not forget. The pain of the past remains, etched in stone and bone, a society captivated by spectacle, cheering its own dehumanization. Hands that engineered aqueducts also perfected the mechanics of killing. This is a human story, of power's thirst and its terrible price. Picture the Colosseum at dawn. Stones cold, seats empty, silence broken by a single bird. And if you listen, the distant roar, the clash of steel, the final gasp. The past is never truly dead. It waits in the ruins, whispering its lessons. We have explored one chapter of Europe's dark history. Next time, European mysteries, lost kingdoms, vanished legions, and secrets beneath the stones. Are we ready to listen?